Hello, my name is Rev Sandra Schloss. I'm the Vicar for St Luke's Church in Peckham and I'm the Area Dean for Camberwell Deanery. So I'd been going to theology lessons or going to sight for a couple of years, and after a while I just felt, I suppose, God calling me to do a bit more, maybe I weren't sure if it was being called for ordination or what it was. But I'd been speaking with some of the other students that were there, who a lot of them, they were actually going towards training to be ordained ministers in one form or another. So it was quite interesting talking to them, and also my vicar at the time, he was really pushing for me to go forward as a self-supporting minister. And so, and you know, I don't know, I think one of the terms I use is like, I felt like God was just nagging me, like a nagging wife saying, go on, Sandra, you are called, I'm asking you to do this, do it, do it, do it. And it's quite difficult to say no to God, I think. So so it took a couple of years, and then I went through a 2-year process of discernment, and then went for the BAP. So it was 4 years before I even started off on my training. So for me, the process from beginning to end was 6 years it took. So I started as an independent student, as I said, for 4 years, including the discernment process, and then a further 2 years for the actual training. Not being very academic and actually having to really work at studying and reading the assignments, not knowing anything about theology before, made it quite difficult for me. But I think, you just keep getting supported. I had a lot of support, had a lot of people helping me. So I was able to complete the course in 6 years. When I started my curacy at St Mildred's in Croydon, I was a self-supporting minister. I did that for 4 years, and then as part of my process, I wanted to transfer to incumbent status ministry. So for that, I had to go through. I had to see the DDO once again. I had to redo a registration form for, as if I was applying for to be a priest, an ordained priest in the first place. I had to go through a candidates panel. So I was interviewed by two priests, so that they could assess me to see whether I've got the adequate leadership skills to actually go through to the next stage. And then they would refer that to the candidates panel, and which happened. Fortunately, the candidates panel said yes, they would accept me based on the recommendations of these two priests who I'd spoken to. And then I had to, once I was accepted, I was then recommended for stipendiary ministry or incumbent status ministry. And then once I was given a post, I had to do a second curacy, which I was not happy about, but I did have to do a second curacy, which I did at the church that I currently am at, which is St Luke's Church in Peckham. I think one of the big things as a self-supporting minister is that you can start projects. Even with the baptism, I was able to start it, and fortunately I had people around me, so I was able to carry on with it all the way through. But it was still only based on a few hours a week of actually going into the church and actually giving up quite a lot of time in the evenings and things like that to actually work on the policy. But to go from that to incumbent ministry is quite a big change in that. You can actually finish something that you started, and you're doing something that you want to do. You're doing it all the time, and it's to me it's I don't know. You just feel like you're. I feel like I'm called to do that full time, and I really thoroughly enjoy it. And I feel like I'm getting paid to do something that I just love to do, and getting to visit people, go into their homes. To me, it's just like, that's a privilege and honour to actually go into someone's home, to talk to them, to share with them, to be invited into their home. To me, it's really, really important. For people that are self-supporting ministers, I'd really like to stress, although I've moved from being a self-supporting minister to an incumbent status minister, I want to stress that it's still as valid and it's still as valuable a role, especially if you're working as well. You can actually bring that ministry into the workplace. I think it's so important. As a self-supporting minister, I did bring that role into the workplace, and we were able to set up, Christian groups within the workplace. So I think it's really important, and that they could, if they do have ambitions of going forward to become an incumbent status priest, to keep going at it. Don't feel like self-supporting is not as relevant or is not as valuable to the ministry. It is so valuable, as is lay ministry, as is, all those types of ministry. I think it's just really important. As the area dean for Camberwell, I'm responsible for, there's 9 churches within my deanery. My role, having a black woman appointed to that role is quite rare, especially, it's rare within Southwark, but it's rare in general. Southwark is quite a diverse area, but even Southwark does not have many black women area deans. So having me as one, it's probably quite a big thing, and I'm hoping it'll encourage other people to actually look forward and see, actually, yeah, you can be in that role as well. The role is quite intense at the moment. Camberwell, it's not a massive area, and it's not a massive deanery, but they still do have their issues. So I suppose I'm that person between the priest, the incumbent, and the archdeacon.